Everything that you need for your One Night Ultimate series, from the very beginning of One Night Ultimate Werewolf to the last one in the series in One Night Ultimate Supervillains. One Night Ultimate bonus rolls gives you that variety that you need in order to fully customize everything that you have done beforehand. So feel free to jump to any point inside this video to take what you need for the specific game that you own to see if this is right for you. First two members of Team Village, we first gotta, as always, talk about the day phase roles. These roles do not ever wake up at all during the night phase, but they're probably the most powerful for the Village team, considering that they don't normally do anything. Starting off with the Prince is simply this. The Prince cannot be voted for to be executed. Any people who vote for the Prince, and the Prince has the majority votes, they all immediately get deflected onto the player with the next highest votes. It's that simple. You don't have to worry about dying at all. Cursed is a little bit more complicated, because, yes, the Cursed originally starts on the Village team. He doesn't ever wake up at all, getting any information or anything of that nature. However, with the way that the Cursed works is that if the Cursed is voted for, and the majority either falls with vampires voting for them or werewolves voting for them, then the Cursed transforms into either a vampire or a werewolf, causing that team to lose, in addition to the Cursed themselves. So it's a very interesting role and a way to try to play. The next three roles inside of the Village team are also quite interesting. So the Beholder, when she wakes up during the night phase, is going to first have the Seer and the Apprentice Seer stick out their thumbs so that way the Beholder can see who they are, if they happen to be the game, or if it's just one or the other. The Beholder then has the opportunity to take a look at the people who were the Seer and the Apprentice Seer, and look at their cards to see if those players are still the Seer and the Apprentice Seer. So it's a role that allows a verification on an information role that is very important. Thing is incredibly similar to the Masons, but the biggest difference is that the Thing is only one card, in comparison to the two cards that you would normally need as a Mason. As when Thing wakes up during the night phase, he is either going to bump the shoulder of the player to their left or to their right, sort of verifying that they are in fact the Thing. Path is a role that I think that kind of works best as a role that's not incredibly useful and is more so haha funny than anything else. Because the empath, randomized by the One Night Ultimate app, is going to be asked a certain variety of questions to where it's honestly more so just fun stuff like who's the most handsome, who do you think's going to win, who's the most suspicious, who's the most trustworthy, and everybody is going to blindly point at that player based on the question asked, and only the empath will be able to see the vibes of everybody else around them. Again, it's not super useful, but something fun to add if you wish. Have the most powerful information role by far inside the One Night Ultimate series with the Aura Seer. Because when the Aura Seer wakes up during the night phase, every other player that has ever moved a card or looked at a card is going to stick out their thumb for her to see. And the same also applies inside of One Night Ultimate Vampire. If anybody has looked at a mark or moved a mark, they're going to stick out their thumb for the Aura Seer to see, to be able to gauge certain information. The next two roles that we're going to cover are the independent roles inside of One Night Ultimate bonus roles. And the first one that we're going to talk about is the Apprentice Tanner. The Apprentice Tanner is super easy. When the Apprentice Tanner wakes up during the night phase, the Tanner is going to stick out their thumb so the Apprentice Tanner can see who the Tanner is. The Apprentice Tanner wants to help the Tanner die. It's that simple. If the Apprentice Tanner doesn't see a Tanner, then the Apprentice Tanner becomes a Tanner and shares the same win condition as the Tanner. Nostradamus is an independent role that is a bit more complicated to explain, but here's the gist of how it is. Nostradamus wakes up during the night phase and can look at up to 3 cards from different players. Really nice, get a great source of information. However, if during up to those 3 cards, as you're looking at them one at a time, that any of them belong not to the village team, then you have to stop in your search and select inside of the One Night Ultimate app what card you saw. The Nostradamus will then be announced publicly to everybody else what team the Nostradamus is on, and his win condition is to assist that team in winning in addition to keeping himself alive. So, for example, if one of the cards that the Nostradamus saw was the Alpha Wolf, then the Nostradamus would be trying to assist the Werewolf team in winning and trying to keep himself alive. However, because the Nostradamus is on the same team and is not a werewolf himself, the werewolves can throw the Nostradamus under the bus if they so choose. So, he adds a different kind of flavor to where everybody at the table will know what team the Nostradamus is on, but they won't know specifically who in fact is the Nostradamus. The Alien team is the most divided team in One Night Ultimate series in general, but the Body Snatcher pulls that team together to make it work a lot better. The Body Snatcher wakes up with the other aliens at first, in order to recognize who the other aliens are, and do whatever night action that the One Night Ultimate app says for them to do. Once the Body Snatcher wakes up a second time on his own, based on the instructions that the app gives, the Body Snatcher will give his card to any non-alien player and swap his card with their card. The card that the Body Snatcher receives becomes an alien, and the Body Snatcher card is an alien, essentially creating another alien for the alien team, whether people know it or not. So, it's a very interesting role to use in order to make things better inside of One Night Ultimate Alien. For the Werewolf team, we have ourselves the Squire. Now, the Squire is very, if not exactly the same as the Beholder for the Werewolf team. But there is a difference. The Squire is not a werewolf himself. So when he wakes up during the night phase, he is going to see all the thumbs of who all is a werewolf. The Squire will then have the opportunity to check to see if those werewolf thumbs are still in fact werewolves. Because, let's be honest, the last thing that you want as a werewolf team is to think that you were a werewolf originally, realize that your card is swapped and you're no longer on the werewolf team, and then that former werewolf rats out the rest of the team. So the Squire can balance things out for you. Inside of One Night Ultimate bonus rolls, in order to make things better for your One Night Ultimate Alien game, this allows you the opportunity to play with 12 players and has numbers based accordingly on that, instead of the usual 10 that One Night Ultimate Alien has. Ultimate bonus rolls also has 6 more curator artifacts that you can use and rotate and mix and match with inside of your One Night Ultimate games. And here's all of the abilities of what they do. Trigger of the Traitor, if you manage to get this during the day phase and you see that this is what you have, your goal at that point is, regardless of what team you were originally on, is to make sure that your own teammate gets killed in order for you to win. So if you were on Village Team, you want a villager to die. If you were on Werewolf Team, you want a werewolf to die. So on and so forth. The cool thing about this is that it is an artifact instead of a mark, to where, unlike the Instigator, this cannot go away. The Book of the Prince, the Bow of the Hunter, and the Sword of the Bodyguard transform whatever character that you were originally into either a prince, hunter, or bodyguard, respectively. Just remember, all artifact tokens that the curator has overrides even the mark system inside of One Night Ultimate Vampire. So any powers or roles you had previously, you are no longer that role. The same also applies for this alien artifact, as the alien artifact transforms your character into another alien for the alien team. The Mist of the Vampire transforms your character into another vampire. So these will override anything else that happens to your character. Inside of the One Night Ultimate's bonus rolls, this is all of the content that is provided for One Night Ultimate Supervillains. If you have this only, and instead of the rest of the One Night Ultimate series. So the game provides you with another innocent bystander, which hopefully you know what it does at this point. But now we're going to cover the rest of the roles. As an easy comparison, Defenderer is simply just a bodyguard. She has the same powers as the bodyguard. So whoever the Defenderer votes for cannot die, and whoever has the second most votes will die instead. Sponge is just the One Night Ultimate equivalent for supervillains to the Prince, to where the Sponge cannot be executed through votes, and all of the votes bounce off of the Sponge and will go to whoever has the second highest votes, and is a part of the hero team, just like Defenderer. Rhino is One Night Ultimate Supervillain's equivalent to the Hunter, to where if Ricochet Rhino receives the majority of votes and ends up getting caught, then whoever Ricochet Rhino is pointing at also gets caught at the same time as he does. Wendy is simply the equivalent of the Cursed inside of One Night Ultimate Supervillains, because she does the exact same thing. She is originally a part of the hero team. However, if any fingers are pointing at her that are a supervillain, then she becomes a supervillain and loses alongside the supervillain team. Family Man is just the Blob. The One Night Ultimate app will tell Family Man who all is a part of his family, and his goal is to just keep himself and his family members alive, regardless on if they're actually heroes or villains, or if they're part of the Mad Scientist team. It doesn't matter. That's all that the Family Man has to do. For the purposes of social deduction and bluffing, this is the night order of the characters that you're primarily going to use from One Night Ultimate Werewolf to One Night Ultimate Alien. Starting up top, it's going to be the Body Snatcher, then the Apprentice Tanner, then the Thing, Nostradamus, Overseer, Squire, Beholder, then Empath, remembering that both the Prince and the Cursed will not ever show up inside of the night phase. When it comes to the One Night Ultimate Supervillains bonus rolls, it's super easy. It's just safe to assume that Family Man goes dead last, and none of the other roles wake up during the night phase, so super easy. That is all of the content inside of One Night Ultimate bonus rolls, and that is all for the One Night Ultimate series. Next time, we are going to be covering what is called epic battles and the rules to explain all of that. So thank you so much for watching this far, and I'll see you guys in the next video.